Thank you very much for your patience. Welcome to the FlightDeck, Oakland's newest 99-seat black box theater. This is the home of at least 10 different arts organizations. British City Rep makes its home here, Rag Wing makes its home here, Illuminous formerly made its home here, and we're happy to welcome Felonious to the family. If you like quality art, I urge you to make sure that you signed up on the mailing list outside, and you will find out not just what's up with the one Truthiness, but everything that happens at the FlightDeck. Tonight, your host is Oakland's oldest North American African theater troupe, the Lower Bottom Plays. And we are abundantly happy to present to you Charlie Levin's The One Truthiness. Now, before we get into the business of why we are all here, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. In case of an emergency, you're going to stand up in an orderly, patient way like you've been doing all night, and you are going to proceed along this wall, following the instructions on that exit sign. We prefer that you go back out this way. If we need to do it in a quick fashion, we can go in both directions. We exit out to the hall, back out through the lobby, and onto the street. Okay? This is a rare piece of theater in which I'm going to invite you to take pictures. I need you to turn your flash off. No flash photography. If your phone does one of those cute little click, 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 silence it. Okay. This is a piece of work that comes with instructions. You've had a portion of the instructions, and these will be repeated for you again in a moment. You are about to see an extraordinary piece of theater. Absolutely extraordinary. This is an invitation to join an adventure that ends in a portrait of this city. So without any further ado, we'd like to start this evening's festivities by bringing you the artist of the hour. I would like to turn this spot over to Charlie Levin.
Thank you all so much for being here. We're super excited to present this early draft of what will be a quarterly series running for all of 2018, hosted by Ayodele and the Lower Bottom Players, which many thanks and cannot tell you how much I've been enjoying working with. As Ayodele said, tonight is not your ordinary piece of theater. Tonight we're going to create something together. So this is the book. And I am going to paint, and you are going to read. The structure of this evening is based on a Passover Seder. So in a Passover Seder, it's keeping a culture alive by retelling the story and sharing the story. And the actual practice is, at its core, sitting around together at a dinner table, reading the story together. And the book goes around the room, and everyone takes part. This is the story of Oakland. As you're writing your instructions, we're going to pass the book around. I'm going to pass the book to you, Elizabeth. And so you can open it, read your page, the first page, and then after you've read it, turn the page and get it ready to pass to the next person. The text is written on both sides, so you sometimes flip, sometimes turn. And we're going to zigzag. Yep. So we're going to start here, and then go right, and on the left. Well, yes, your left. Right? And then until we get to the end, and then just zigzag back. And we'll do that as many times as we need until we've reached the end of the tale. So thank you again for coming. If anybody, for any reason, if having trouble seeing the book in the dim light, or for any other reason does not want to read, please just continue to pass it to the next person. So again, thank you so much for coming, and welcome to the One Truthiness. Oh, I'm going to get ready to put my gloves on and give you a nod when we're ready to start.
This is a line. These are two lines.
How many lines before we see a box?
And it is coming towards you or falling away.
Is it a box or a room? Big or small? Can you hold it in your hand or move in with your family?
We look at lines on a two-dimensional surface and recognize a three-dimensional world we could inhabit.
Our minds do this unconsciously.
We project our understanding of the world onto these lines.
We project what is known and unknown to us onto everything we see.
This is a line.
These are two lines.
How many lines?
Before we see a road.
And is it a road toward something or leading away?
On which side of the road are you?
Looking at a painting, everyone sees from the same perspective. Standing a foot to the left or right doesn't change the horizon, the tree, the mountains.
In real life, though, we lose the frame. We are living in a cubist world where you see from above and I from below. And the greater the distance from each other, the more the distortion.
So, which is true? Your view or mine?
Who owns the truth? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Will you pull them closer or push them away? How do you decide? This is a person.
Are they near or far?
Are they close enough to touch?
Should you pull them closer, push them away?
This is a person.
Are they coming to help you or hurt you?
Does it help to see their faces?
If they look you in the eye, look away.
This is a person.
Who is the good guy? Who is the bad? Which are you?
Does it matter what they're wearing?
Does it matter which side of the road they're on?
Does it matter what they believe in? Or who they voted for?
All Americans want to know that they are healthy, that their children and their parents are going to have access to health care and dignity. All Americans want to know they can get a job and keep a job. All Americans want to be able to retire with dignity.
Anyone can make it here if they just put in the effort.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, and all people are created equal.
I want to be proud and satisfied. I want to make the world a better place. I want to feel good. To live life as I see fit. But everything I value is under threat.
I've never seen fear like this here.
This is how my community has felt the whole time. I don't see anything new. What's new is that you see it too. How can you not understand?
Are you stupid? Are you mean? Why won't you listen?
What would it take for you to believe me when I tell you the truth?
I've been lied to before.
You are waging a war against my entire way of life.
There is a war against America, a war against women, a war against business, a war against the poor, a war against science, a war against black people, a war against white people, a war against Christmas, a war against all people of color, a war against the police, a war against freedom, a war against civility, a war against our souls, a war against each other, a war against the truth. We may not survive.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're just parroting what you've been fed.
Who said this? Us or them?
I can't take it anymore.
It's all your fault.
They adopt views of other people as their own. Without fully understanding them. When questioned by someone who thinks for themselves, their lack of understanding shines through. And the only way to mask it is through considerate remarks, condescending remarks.
Who said this? Us or them?
There is no point engaging with those people. Take care of yourself. Take care of your own.
I've never had murderous thoughts about anyone before, until now.
It's gone too far.
I've never been am so afraid.
Fear, fear, fear of loss. Loss of a world I can understand, of predictability, of civility, of home, of community, of access, of opportunity, of visibility, of dignity, of respect, of power, of self-determination, of control. Loss of how I thought the world was.
Loss of how I hoped the world would be. Loss of how I think the world should be.
Fear of unpredictability.
What have we inherited?
Patterns of bodies, patterns of fear. It's you or me. It's you or me. It's you or me. Survival at any cost. There's just too much risk.
Quote, "You have every legal right to fight back by any means necessary. If it means a hose, BB gun to the neck, baseball bat, or brute force to save your child, your home, property, or yourself, I say, fight back and let these thugs know you will not back down." Temescal neighborhood, Oakland.
Quote, "Someone called the police on my 6th and 8th grade sons while they were home alone, playing in their own backyard. An officer showed up and demanded they prove they belonged there. Parent in the Rockridge neighborhood."
Quote, "I don't know you. I don't know what the dangers are." Isn't that what police are for? To handle things normal people don't have any experiences with?
Quote, "I've stopped jogging in my own neighborhood. I've lived here for 17 years, and now I'm afraid my neighbors will call the police on me. They don't even know me."
A black man in a red shirt. How many people fit the description?
We are right here in front of you, but you don't notice us until we match the picture in your mind.
This little white boy in my class did the cutest thing. Does that make you feel singled out, separate from the rest of the class?
What is normal and who is not included?
Quote, "There was this group of gangbangers on our street that just terrorized anyone who spoke up against them. Anyone but the white people. I tell you, every Latino family was grateful when the police harassed those guys onto another block."
Quote, "In my neighborhood in San Francisco, there were these two guys who would stand on the corner and sell drugs. One car blocking my driveway every single day. If I asked him to move it, he could not have moved more slowly, including removing a gun he would balance on one of the tires so he could get to it easily and not have it on the body. Now the drug dealers are gone. but it's filled with loud people leaving the bars, pissing in my doorway, and still blocking my driveway. I don't know which was worse.
Quote, I called the police because I was afraid. Quote, I'm afraid because someone called the police.
Quote, people come by my house all the time asking if I want to sell. I said, even if I sold you my house and you gave me this big price, why would I do that? Where would I live? And they said, you should go to Antioch. That's where your people go.
I don't recognize you. I can't tell where the danger is on what you are going to do or what you are capable of. You are unknown to me. You are the wilderness.
Quote, where else but the Bay Area can you teach yourself something, have one good idea, drop out of college, and leave your mark on the world?
Quote, I was walking home from work when an officer approached me for jaywalking. When I questioned it, he slammed me to the ground and punched me 20 times in the face. Sacramento.
Quote, my children's school is in effect segregated. All the families with money are pulling their kids out and putting them in private schools. My kid is the only white kid in the school.
Quote, our real estate agent said we shouldn't even look there because of the schools. I need to protect my children's future.
Quote, and my neighbors said to me, I'm so concerned about the segregation and inequities in our schools. We should get on a group together and start our own charter to center on diversity. They haven't stepped foot in our neighborhood school, but want to take their money and their connections and make their own. They want diversity, but not too much of it. They want diversity on their own terms.
Quote, the new people moving in all have computers and smartphones. They connect online. They raise money to fix up the things they know about. But the people who were here before met each other on their front stoops, in the street, in person. We are living on the same block, in parallel worlds. We don't even see each other.
Quote, I'm busy.
What do we have in common?
Quote, the Oakland I grew up in made sure folks grew into hustlers and lovers ganged up on social justice, civic action, volunteerism, diversity, weirdness, creativity, and community pride. Oakland taught us about life and death. It taught us how to overcome adversity and talk with any and every type of person we might encounter.
It taught us to be street smart and navigate hairy situations. It taught us to make progress by juking the red tape and looking out for our people, however we define that. It taught us how to fight for our lives and then get back up and hug it out. It taught us how to be creative regardless of whether there was any money or industry backing our endeavors. That spirit is what makes Oakland glorious. As a fellow native said the other day, Oakland is the city of the golden children.
Quote, me, I couldn't get out of my small town fast enough. Everyone is all up in your business and judge you for being different. I don't even want to know my neighbors.
Quote, the great thing about the Bay Area is that people don't accept the status quo. Whether in tech or social action, they are encouraged to be unconventional and make the world a better place.
Quote, there is not a place in Oakland where Black people are safe from the police.
Quote, Oakland is one of your classic undiscovered towns that's been overlooked for 100 years or so. All my neighborhood needs are more organic markets, better restaurants, and a coffee kiosk with pastry bites. Quote, the vacant lots should be fixed up and made into proper parks.
Quote, we are invisible. We have been here the whole time.
Quote, for 30 years, we asked for city services, for a grocery store, for a better school, for a traffic light where kids have been killed by cars, and we got no response. When someone dies, we want the police to show us the coroner's report so we can tell what really happened. But a whole bunch of left-learning, middle-class white folks move in, and in 2 weeks, we have a bike lane.
Quote, bike lanes and flowers make the community safer and cleaner. Less cars mean less asthma. Quote, we want money put in the right places, not just to rebuild the structures, the buildings, but to rebuild the community, the people.
Quote, I moved to the Bay Area because it is the home of the Summer of Love and the free speech movement. It's the spiritual heart of new ideas and civil rights. It symbolizes all of that.
Quote, I am an accomplished professional. I live in a penthouse apartment overlooking Lake Marion. But every time someone asks, do you want your receipt? I don't think, save the paper. I'm reminded that I need to take it to prove I'm not shoplifting. It is traumatizing. Every single time.
Stories inspire. Stories incite. Stories inflame.
History inherited. Prejudice inherited.
Oakland is a relationship that's not going to last. I just want to be the one to break up first.
Quote, it's not my fault I have a job that gets paid lots of money. It's not my fault I can afford a house here. It's not my fault housing is so expensive.
Quote, doesn't everyone want things to be safe and beautiful?
Fear of annihilation, erase, erase, dwindle, dissolve, diminish, dispel, disperse, dissipate, disappear, to nothing, disaster.
Is it the end of everything I know? The end of history?
Like boiling frogs, one small injustice at a time. So easy to ignore.
It looks so clear from afar. Those people outside California, those people over there, they have ruined everything.
But up close it's hard. There's too much detail in the picture.
History helps and hurts.
My history is more important than your history. My pain is worse than your pain. My safety is more important than your safety. My survival is more important than you.
Well, why can't you just get over it already? It was a long time ago. Neither one of us was even alive. It's the developers, it's the banks, it's the shareholders, it's the racists, it's the techies, it's the immigrants, it's the blacks, it's the culture.
A fight for survival.
Well, I got pulled over by a police officer, and I didn't know why because I knew I wasn't speeding. Emotions told me to get out of the car. And the whole time I'm thinking, do I get out of the car? Do I not get out of the car? So I get out and he says, I just wanted to check on you because you were driving under the speed limit. I was just checking on you. I wanted to be sure you were safe. And as he said that, I just broke down crying. And I told him I was so scared. And I knew he felt awful that I was that scared, but I was so scared. I never thought that in that situation I would feel afraid, but I legitimately felt horrified. How awful to be stopped by the police and feel that scared. He just kept saying, please don't cry, please don't cry. I really just wanted you to be safe. And he gave me a hug and said to take care. And I just sat in my car and cried. It's just crazy to feel this scared.
So what is the appropriate response? Quote, we have to work within the system. Nobody teaches civics.
Quote, burn it down.
Quote, when we're in the streets, they tell us to work inside the system. When we work inside the system, we're reminded that the only place we'll ever get justice is in the streets.
The system can't be fixed. How many times do you expect us to walk into the wall?
Quote, burn it down.
Quote, look away if you see someone getting beat up. They probably deserve it.
Quote, anyone who has walked through a world of ash isn't so quick to burn anything.
Quote, don't bring up race. It distracts from the real issues and will alienate too many people.
Quote, you don't tolerate intolerance or negotiate with terrorists.
Quote, if you happen to find yourself in a situation you cannot avoid, always throw the first punch and make it a knockout.
Speak your truth and face reprisals, or bite your tongue and get ahead. Quote, I'm tired of playing nice.
I'm tired of being careful around you.
So they all need to die, the faster the better, then we can straighten things out. Everyone is so fucking fragile.
The liberals, the conservatives, the black people, the white people, the millennials, the boomers, the rich, the poor.
It's all their fault.
You've got it all wrong. You just don't understand.
Just let me explain. Just let me explain. Just let me explain.
No one is listening.
A slow motion massacre, a negligent homicide. A death without malice caused by conduct that grossly devastates or deviates from original care, ordinary care.
I am just living the life that was handed to me. I didn't ask for this.
Quote, power conceives nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will.
Nothing changes except through peaceful protest. Nothing changes till there's blood in the streets.
Quote, I walked behind them, cleaning up the trash cans they overturned.
A night of broken windows. How many deaths have you known? Were they peaceful?
Quote, this is not your movement. You do not get to choose the tactics that people use to liberate themselves. There has always been a spectrum of tactics within liberation movements that range from nonviolent boycotts to armed slave rebellions. They don't need to be pitted against one another. Our rebellion is not your photo project. Flyer found in a protest in Berkeley.
How can you make someone understand something they haven't experienced?
We're good people. We mean well.
How much can you take before you burst? How much should you take before you're a pansy?
Quote, look away if you see someone getting beat up. They probably deserve it. Flyer found at Berkeley protests.
Frustration and fear and exhaustion and despair.
Quote, in Google I typed, quote, why is the world ... quote, unquote. And autocomplete finished it with, quote, filled with hate, unquote.
Call the government. Call the police. Call your therapist.
Take care of yourself. Take care of your own.
Something should be done.
Do you draw them towards you or push them away?
This is how the world works for me. This is what I was taught to succeed. This is what I was taught to be safe.
It's a good investment.
I'm trying to make the world a better place.
We all go to a safe space where we are uncomfortable.
I never imagined that people were afraid of me.
I don't generally notice that I'm living in a segregated world. I'm just normal.
When did you learn you were black?
What does it mean to be white?
When did you learn you were scary?
Who is the victim? Who is the villain? Who has the most to lose?
It all looks so clear from the sidelines, but there are no sidelines. We are all in the picture.
Fear and loss and grief and violence.
And love, and culture, and family, and inertia, and unfamiliarity, and busyness.
Quote, I don't want to offend you.
Where do you go to feel safe? Where do you find comfort?
Quote, I sit every day with a shadow of fear. How do I teach my son to tiptoe in the world and still be confident in himself? How do I tell him these things and yet also teach him that the world is amazing and he can grow into anyone he wants to be?
I try to be close, but they push me away. Again and again, they push me away.
Quote, I live in two realities, my inner world and the outer. Publicly, for my life's sake, I abide society's rules and regulations concerning categories and groups. Accordingly, I resonate with the so-called black group. However, privately, I resonate with and represent humanity, any human being, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, with whom I can find common ground and share thoughts and experiences.
I'm so tired of being careful.
It's too much.
I can't take the
being dismissed and ignored any longer. I just want to live my life.
Quote, why do I have to change to make you comfortable? Why do I have to show you that I'm not threatening as opposed to your recognizing that, based on my behavior, I haven't posed a threat?
How much of my life and my traditions do I have to change to make room for you? How do I address the envelopes, plan for the holidays, meet the family, dress for work? There are rules for a reason. Why do you have to make everything so difficult?
Invisible and hyper-visible.
I was worried. I called social services.
Quote, social services wanted to take us away from our mother to protect us. Taking apart our family didn't make anything better.
I was afraid. I called the police.
Quote, I was arrested because I fit the description and kept in prison because I didn't have bail. My wife is left supporting our children all on her own. I don't think we'll be able to keep a house. My entire neighborhood looks like families like us.
I was uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do.
Who do we expect to intervene when we're afraid to talk to each other?
The government should be a safety net.
You can't expect the government to be a person.
You don't understand.
Quote, I feel unsafe in my own neighborhood. Who said this? What color was their skin?
Quote, in every conversation about nice white people feeling silenced by conversations about race, there is a sort of ironic and glaring lack of understanding or empathy for those of us who have been visibly marked out as different for our entire lives and live the consequences. It must be a strange life, always having permission to speak and feeling indignant when you're finally asked to listen.
Quote, in polite conversation, it's rude to allow anyone to be uncomfortable. Avoid divisive topics like politics, money, or race.
And in your avoidance, I am erased. My existence is uncomfortable for you.
Conversations. Noun. From the mid-14th century, the act of living together.
I was taught I was polite in public spaces, to not disturb other people, to not invade their personal space, to give room for their own private experience. But one day I realized it just meant I was standing next to someone pretending they weren't there.
Do you see me? Or only the idea of me?
What do we perpetuate? How do we keep ourselves separate?
I'm just living the life that was handed to me. I'm not part of this.
I just want to live a nice life.
Quote, honestly, I want to go back to pretending you don't exist.
want to spend time with people I feel comfortable with.
Peace and violence and good intentions and elections and marches and hunger strikes and petitions and justice reviews and consent decrees and lawsuits and boring backroom deals. Do you have stamina for the long run?
You don't have to march in the streets to change the world.
We are different, and we are afraid, and we are in pain. Grief and loss and death and fear.
How can we speak across the aisle when we don't even see the people across the street?
Until someone dies, and even then.
Is it possible to disagree without compromise? To discuss without surrender?
You feel your own pain without wanting to destroy the world.
Can you hear someone else's pain without defending your own?
Can we see each other as people trying to become better people?
It's hard to see the pattern and the person.
Well, no one really knows about other human beings. The best we can do is to suppose they are like ourselves.
What experiences have you had that led you to those conclusions?
Who are you ignoring? Who don't you know what to do with?
The truth is the truth, because you can trust it.
Truth is trust, a reliable picture of the world.
We are not in the culture, we are the culture.
I think everyone feels more comfortable with a certain amount of familiarity around it. It allows a shorthand, shared frame of reference. You can get past defining your terms and onto developing your thought. You can literally let your hair down and be unbridled, let loose, be yourself, trust your instincts, feel at home. The questions for me are, how much sameness do we continue to choose? Who has the freedom to choose it? What do we lose by choosing so badly?
I want to be part of a community. I want to be an individual.
I want to be associated with the groups and people I choose. You have no right to label me.
Some problems can't be solved by a single debate or fixed by one person.
Can we sit with the awkwardness, the uncomfortable and afraid?
Because regardless what it is, we are all in it together.
It's not far away. It's not in the past. It's not just them.
It is here, it is now, it is us. And
What if the hero and the terrorist are each other's echo? It just depends on which side of the line you are on.
Take care of yourself. Take care of your own. Take care of each other.
Are you us or them? Am I?
What does it take for you to believe someone's pain?
Anger.
Suffering.
Similarity.
This is a person. And this is a person.
Did you make them near or far, small or big?
Will you draw them close or push them away?
This is a line. Will we use it to connect or divide?
Once upon a time, there was a person who saw me.
You would give Charlie one more round of applause. And could we give our musicians? We'd like to open it with whether or not there are questions for the artist. So we'd like to open it with questions from you. I see most of you are still chewing. There's a hand. Yes, right up there.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. I have a question about the format of the shows that will happen next year, and whether they'll be the same format. And it's a two-parter. Second part is, did you practice the image as it is before, and will it be the same image every time?
So, thank you. So the question was about the series coming up, and well, whether the format will be the same every episode of the series, every cycle, and also whether the images will change. So both the text and the images will change each cycle. They tend to be similar from show to show within a cycle. I figure out images that align or resonate with the stories. But then each quarter will be new text. There will be parts of it that are the same. So that kind of tracking certain thoughts and themes of what's still current. And investigating different areas. But the hope is to evolve the conversation so that each time there's something more or different and shift in a different perspective to see. Oh, and the format will be the same. Yes.
Yeah, that kind of leads into my question, which is how much of the text for this particular show was specific to Oakland?
Most of it. So the whole goal is to find stories and quotes from here. And sometimes I'll find quotes or stories from other places that echo stories I've heard but haven't had coalesced in that clarity. But the idea, the original idea really is that it's so easy. There are times when it's so easy to think things are somewhere else. And I found myself and other people sometimes surprised that that's happening here when we may have a different idea of what our community consists of.
Thank you so much for your work and for you, Ayodele, a lot of plays. And I'm just wondering how you sourced the text.
All over the place. So how I source the text. So it's a mix of Facebook and Twitter and neighborhood news groups and personal interviews and conversations I've had with people I know, conversations I've heard from people I know secondhand, all over. Yeah.
Do you feel there's a difference in how people express themselves if it's on the internet versus personal interviews versus the different types of research that you're doing?
Absolutely. So the question was whether people express themselves differently on the internet versus in person or in other formats. And the thing so I did a series of paintings a few years ago called F to F. Like we have B to B, face to face. And was thinking about we're starting to emerge out of it, but sort of a golden age of social media where you trust people. And what is that gap between the person you are online? Like there's a long history of thinking about public image versus private image. And now we have digital online images. And so some people are more bold, they're more rude, they're more outrageous, and say things they would never say in person. Some people are more cautious, they only say the good thing. And some people, we're more vulnerable in ways online because we don't know where to put the locks. And we're also more strong because we can connect at a distance in ways that we might not know up front. So those differences between when I meet people in person and those kind of personal interviews, those I find require a building of trust because it is somebody real, and that's different than online.
We have questions up here that were before. Up here, right here.
Oh,
yes.
So I wanted to ask more about the book and the quotes and also some of what's that maybe your own writing and what kind of narrative you were going for, because you obviously made very deliberate choices about whose voices you included and quotes you selected that may have resonated with you, and I noticed some quotes were repeated. So I'm just wondering if you could say more about that process.
Well, my personal bias is I would like us to be able to talk to each other instead of wanting to kill each other. I don't think there's let's all just get along. I'm more interested in developing the skills to figure out how to disagree in a civil or productive way. So I look for stories that resonate. I look for stories that I think somebody would give insight to somebody else. So whether it's through my own lens or people I know and imagine that there would be oh, I never thought about it that way, or I didn't. That's what it's like for you. Really? I had no idea. So I look for just to try to shine light on things where there are differences, and I try, but the bias is, I'm very interested in challenges that don't have simple answers and can't be solved with a single demand. So what do you do with a multi-generational, long, epic challenge that isn't solved in just one area or with one solution? So I'm just trying to lay the groundwork for that.
This might be a good time, too, to give you some information, and then we're going to come back over here. I'll just pop back and forth between people. People who are interested in the text itself. Part of the reason that because you've all been curated, too. You're all specially invited here, okay? You're invited to give us some of the next text, to interact with the blog at theonetruthiness.com, where you may go and be anonymous and brave because you're online. You've also got reaction cards inside of your programs tonight, separate from the survey, that ask and invite your story in. And so to connect to Mr. Arnold's question, our hope and our intention is that at the very, very end, that this is a replica portrait of Oakland, and imagine the process through the cycles, just constantly inviting people in, having these conversations, have it feed the next iteration. So the first installment is in January. Then every 3 or 4 months. We're again, I think in May, and then September, and then at the end of the year. So in the end, this will be an Oakland-specific conversation and fed by people like you. So we have some more comments right here, and I'll get to you in a minute. Okay, right here.
So I have a question about the process for you on the other side of the glass. We're reading, you know the text. How is it for you experiencing the text while you're imaging?
It's completely different. And every night, different people are reading it. So the tone is different, the pacing is different, the mood is different, and all of that feeds on me. Responding to the music. Tonight I heard all of the sounds of, like, every time my clamp went clink, or my brush, the paint went splash. I heard all of the sounds in the context and the relationship of all of the words as well.
Over here, right there.
When you did that second painting, so did you do the first one first and then later do white and scrape out some?
Mm-hmm.
Or how did you do it?
The final image is no scraping, just one image painted on top of another.
And so I think that the young one wants to know how the sorcery. Because when you think about it, when it first turned around, you saw the same picture. It turned into the other picture right in front of your eyes.
So the lighting.
Aha, you're right, Lynn. Yes.
Physics is cool.
Yes. Let's take one from over here. I see you here and I see you here. I'll be back. Right there.
I'd be curious if there's an opportunity or if you've discussed ways in which you can capture quotes or thoughts or feelings from the audience as they're reading in a more public way, like using these black walls in some way or something out in the lobby that can then be used in the next cycle.
Yeah. I'm trying to, so the more people can feed me things that they think that I should know, the better and easier it is for me to do shows this quickly. Hunting around and listening and it's just a process and it's very satisfying, but so it's a combination. So if I'll come looking for you and hope that you can come reach out to me. So that's a wonderful idea that we've talked about. And then there's the online blog where people can add things. There's actually, it's not in the program right now, but there's actually a voicemail box set up where people just want to rant at me and tell their story in the middle of the night. You would never believe what happened to me. So yes, all ways to collect is satisfying.
Okay, here.
I just wanted to say I think it's so dope how the text and the picture, though different, coincided and tied everything up, because it's so true that different people can look at one thing and have different opinions, and that does mean that we're all in a conversation, but we're not having the same conversation at all. And so that's a good point.
Thank you. Is there someone over here? Okay, then back over here. You back?
I was just interested, thank you, in, well, first of all, thank you. But I was interested in your, like, to go to the question about your experience on the other side of the class. And interested in how much of it feels like performance to you and how much of it feels kind of like research. Like, are you, yeah.
Tell me more about it being research.
Well, I mean, as far as like how, because it's very interactive, so how we feed it to you, you're documenting and processing and bringing that out. And you said it's different every time. So you are in fact researching upon us. And so my question is, where is the balance, or is there a balance between the performance of it, as in, I do this at this time, I do that at that time, and then this work gets said, and then I do this, and it's going to look like this when I'm done, and how much of it is like, research.
So interesting. I've never thought about that part of it as research. I think about the story gathering as research, but increasingly, both that and this, I hope, is an invitation for connection and conversation. So for people who choose to participate, that they are offering something to all of us, and this is my offering in response and in dialogue.
Right here.
I'm curious about the relationship between the two of you. You're credited as the director, but I'm just interested to know what your experience has been about your role and how you've worked together and what you've done.
I've actually known Charlie for a while now. This piece of work, like a lot of work for me these days, came to me. Someone sent Charlie to talk to me. I don't take, aha, you know, Fred. So we want to acknowledge that. I don't take every piece of work that comes my way. One, I just couldn't produce it all. And the other part is I'm very specific about my own body of work. I am known for doing work through a Black lens. I am known for giving voice to invisible narratives. So I find this work compelling because it attempts to give voice to everyone. And even with my extremely Black lens and wanting to give voice to invisible narratives, I privilege the narratives that I've considered to be invisible. This intrigues me because everybody's narrative is in it. I like it because it brings into the room people who would not come into the room and talk to each other, and here they talk to each other. I like the idea of gathering a diverse group of people together and holding up this reflection. I am almost positive that there were people tonight who read things that they didn't like coming out of their mouths, you know? And that question, who said this, them or us? You know, I'm pretty sure at some point that began to reverberate as people were reading, you know? I like theater that facilitates a space for a conversation. As an artist and as a human being, I think that we are at a particularly pregnant point in time. I am urging everyone to pick a side. There has to be a side. And if we say that, it sounds really polarizing, right? So my idea of a side no longer has a label. It's not Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative. It's what's right. this is a piece of work that lets you consider what's right, what's human, what's good, what feels good to me. Because what feels good to me is probably what feels good to everybody. And so it's very much in the lower bottom player's wheelhouse, this piece of work. It's edgy, gives space for conversation, forces one to think, it's intelligent, it's smart, so it's my kind of work. Up top and then back over here. Okay.
Two quick things. One, I wonder if there's any way to create like a situation where the audience can see each other. Like my experience, like I really like wanted to see other people's faces as they were reading and whatnot. We were separate from each other in addition to being separate from you. So that's like some feedback that I would give out. And then the other thing, and then my impulse around it is like, can we be in the round and also still have a reveal at the end? Like, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask the question, how do you think, like, your identity as the artist sort of plays into this?
Sorry, say that again?
How your identity or your, like, social location, kind of, where you're speaking from, plays into this. How does it manifest?
So I've always done work about complexity. So the history of my artwork is a lot of working with transparency and light and perception and trying to, I always drew people and then painted people, and then I discovered installation art. And to me, installation art was an opportunity where the people, like real people, would be the figure in the painting. So then it became a trick of what can I do to make people notice each other in that same interpretive way that we do with a piece of painting. It's a still piece of art. So it became about light and context. And that's always been my personal frame, my personal experience of the world is I've always felt like we all feel like outsiders. Everyone feels like a foreign country to me. That's kind of always been the case. My personal context, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a wide-ranging, thinking, questioning Jewish American family that liked to think about things and imagine what was possible. And that influence provided a generally positive perception of the world. And as an adult, it's an ongoing process of understanding all the places where that disjunction happens. I imagine, I bought all of the American mythology, and I think that those ideas are interesting as an aspiration. But I also think it's essential to own up to where we don't meet them, and it's only when we do own up to where we don't meet if we can identify our values and figure out where we don't meet them, then we can talk, then we got something to work on.
Ali, and then back, I see three over here. Ali?
I'd like to pose a question to both of you creators. I'm very interested in how all of us can become more human. And I would like to hear from both of you about how you think this particular vehicle can be a part of something that inspires people to maybe think beyond their so-called box.
That's one of my mentors there with that really beautiful question. And very apropos because it segues us. Okay, it segues us into some of the questions we have. We're going to do a twofer. The work's work. Okay? I'm interested in knowing what you guys think the work of this work is. And so I'll answer the question first since you posed it. I like what we're doing right now. I like how we are all sitting here together, having had an experience together that has opened a space where we are having this conversation. If we were passing each other on the street or sitting in bar, we may act like we don't see each other. I think that in this current climate, we've had two, what I call wake-up calls from the general public. One, Trump got elected. And a lot of my allies were slack-jawed. They could not believe that that could happen in their America. And my thought that it felt real familiar to me and America hadn't changed at all really disturbed them. Because there was the thought that there had been something going on for 400 years and they just discovered it yesterday. I wondered in that moment, and so what's next? You are now awake. What happens now? And there's been some interesting sort of friction between Trump's election and then Charlottesville. And that was like a double whammy. Once again, people are awake. Okay? We have to be more than awake. Change is an action. And so I hope that sitting here and talking begins to, one, for me personally, help my allies begin to discover what comes next. Because something has to come next. I hope it encourages people to talk intra-group, and I hope it encourages people to seek out and to set up other situations where diverse people get together and agree to disagree or agree, but to talk and to plot what comes next. Because in my world, we're the people. You can cry about who's the president, who's the mayor. We're the people. If we can get on one accord, there's nothing you can't change. So I think it'll help grow empathy and then maybe energize batteries. I'll be politically correct. Energize batteries so people move from awareness to action.
Yes.
A to A. I have a question. The first is a conversation part of the format?
Yes.
It always will end with a conversation with the audience.
Yes.
And the second part is, how do you foresee bringing people into the space to participate? And I assume to buy a ticket, right? You're asking people to buy a ticket. Who really need to be here because they are the ones who don't like talking about race or social injustice or politics or any of the other difficult things to talk about for them. You know, how are you going to frame this event in such a way that it won't turn them off?
With your help.
And what those people, see, we all have another. Okay? See, those people belong in this room because we are those people to them. And it doesn't work unless all the people are in here. So it's a really interesting question. And we've had some advice from experts about how to be very specific. And that is really bright information, but my secret power is to do exactly the opposite. Because there's something everybody in this room has in common. I bet you I can name 4 or 5 things you all have in common. Don't you all want your kids to grow up healthy and strong? Everybody does, even those people. Don't you want America to represent you? Don't you want to feel at home in your skin? Everybody does, even those people, okay? And so forth and so on. We are all human, no matter what that human is dressed in. No matter what picadillos or personal eccentricities we picked up along the way, you cut us open and we look pretty much the same. And so by appealing to those things we're all interested in. And if this is a portrait of Oakland, then aren't we all interested in coming to have our say about what Oakland should look like? What's important here? Who needs to be here? And who doesn't need to be here? See, I think those are things that almost anyone will respond to. And you say you're selling a ticket, and so how do you get them in the room? I make really good theater. So people come to be entertained. But the trick of it is, I will entertain you, but that is never my goal. I don't really do entertainment. I only do transformative theater. So for 18 years, the Lord by the Players have managed to sell tickets to people who walk in willingly to have a transformative experience And 99% of them feel taller when they leave. You know? So, my parents are really do listen to this.
Let me just add a little bit. I'll go the less bold way, which is I tend to take a sneakier approach. So come see wax on glass. You've never seen anything like that. Come for the wax. Stay for the transformation.
Okay. So bait and switch.
But it's also the goal of the structure is not to be didactic about anyone's perspective. I mean, going back to the question of the person at the top, it's a very delicate balance, and I'm sure some people will be really offended by what I'm doing and what we're doing and how we're approaching it, because as there should be an infinite number of perspectives and approaches. But I'm trying to bring the voices in the room so they can talk to each other, hopefully give space for people to come and not feel like they're going to be lectured or told the same things and this is what you should do. But hopefully, some idea of the structure of giving the words to you to speak is to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and feel that in context of the conversation. And then the point of the conversation afterwards, which you asked about, is then you have your own words. So I'm not trying to take anyone's words away or prescribe anybody's experience or say anything tell you how you should. Maybe someone's going to go through this. I think you were telling me this. You're going to go through this and see like, yes, this is all the stuff that I hate, and I'm very clear about that now. And so, great awareness. Okay. So it's just let people be people, but let us be aware of each other in the conversation.
Right here, and then down here, and then back over here. Okay.
So, I love the evolution of the images itself, and not that I guess I'm kind of looking for a little bit of validation of what I saw. Would you be able to go through some of the main images? Like, for example, to me, I mean, the first part with the road, and it went with the narrative, that was great. It was very clear, but as you added more layers to it, it just became its own thing. So, to me, what was the building, the blue building? I want to know.
I'd like to hear some from the audience answer that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who saw a blue building? Okay, so Ali, what was the blue building about? You notice how many people did not see a blue building? Okay? It's kind of a trick question.
Yeah.
You saw what you saw.
Yes.
I saw what I saw. I was sitting next to my daughter. We were arguing about what was on there. We both looked at the same thing. You just want to know what the blue building meant. Only 10 people saw a blue building. Okay?
That's exactly what was so interesting about it. The perspective. I mean, we're all here at the same time, but we were seeing different things. And I'm going to say what I saw was the Oakland fire. I saw fire. I saw souls flying out of the fire, and I got very emotional at that time. And so, so I think that's an interesting form of sorcery. Like you said.
Did anybody see a graveyard down at the bottom of the picture at any point?
I did.
Again, do you notice some people saw it, but not? Again, that's the power of this work. Because don't we project ourselves onto almost everything we see? I mean, the first time I saw this work, I literally wanted to stop it and go, stop! What do you see right now? Because I was really convinced that this is the kind of experience we were having. And I think that's instructive and a part of the work itself, this realization that we can all look at the same thing and not see the same thing. We can be in the same conversation, understand all the words, and it's not the same conversation.
Right.
It's my own version of the medium is the message.
For example, right there, it's possible you can see somebody being pushed, somebody dancing. I mean, it's all in whatever you perceive that to be at the time.
This young lady here.
So when you were doing it, I forget. Right. When you were doing it, when you added all the different layers, I noticed you came back to some and you redid them and added some outline or something. But how do you see over all that other stuff?
It's hard.
We are sort of drawing to the close. It seems like we only talked to you. So here and here, then we have one more question. So we have about 10 minutes.
She asked us.
Right here. Yes.
So I have like a couple comments and then leading into a question. But this piece was incredibly moving to me, like on every level. So seriously, thank you both for hosting something like this. It was awesome because as I'm a writer and reading sort of like the initial copy that you guys have in the pamphlet, it was kind of like, like you said, it's a little bit like, now that I've seen the whole thing, it was a little bit like bait and switchy in the sense of like, I was reading it and I was like, oh, okay, like everyone's like commenting on how we all didn't know, and like, it's like the media spins everything in a certain way, and we're also used to kind of like reading, right? And like as a writer, we're also kind of like belabored by the tweets, and we're belabored by like what everyone's writing about it, and so it's like, I constantly come back to this place of like, how do I write about the complexity of this, of what's going on right now? Like you feel like you want to say something 1 minute and then it changes, and like constantly the voice is changing, and you manage to find a space and a medium and a way of having it read aloud by a group of people that really brought that complexity into place. And it felt so relieving to feel like finally someone is addressing the complexity and like the elephant in the room of how like you can't just answer it. You can't just answer it for us. And I think that that's something like I would, as you said, like I'm happy to hear that you want it brought out of the room. And I guess like how in your minds, to the both of you, honestly, like in other art forms, like how do you feel like we can talk about the complexity? Like how can we bring this out? And like,
I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of really good work, including a lot of people in this room, that have a lot of different tactics. And I think that all of those tactics help give dimensionality, and every person, sometimes it's a different, one person will respond to one thing differently than another, and sometimes it's just the timing. And also I think there's an accrual, an aggregation of things. You hear a little bit here, and you hear a little bit here, and you hear a little bit here, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this, like, the penny drops, the lights go on. So I'm very grateful for the written word. To be able to bring all of these together, so it's a sensory, it's three-dimensional, it's in time. I had showed my work to a art business person at some point, like, so career art, yeah. And he's like, wow, you got your work, like it's a painting, but it's a sculpture, but it's time-based, but it's moving. Yeah, I know. So I think, just doing this work, again, complexity is my lens. And to anything, and to build off of all the work of all those good people in the room whose work I know, you teach me things, and if I can amplify and reflect that and feed your work, that's what I want to do. So I want to, again, back to your question, Yvette, of ideally for me, I want to know more. I want to know what I don't understand. I want to be part of a bigger picture, and I am. We all are. So just some of us we don't always know it, and how to do that and how to open our minds and make time in our busy lives for that discomfort and that growing and that connecting, which is hopefully ultimately very enriching and expanding.
Aha, I have another segue. This is our final segue for the night. And I really hope you're enjoying this conversation and you're reluctant to end it like I am, because that means that you have to come back in January. This project needs you. How do we get the right people in the room? You go tell 2 people, 2 you really like and 2 you think need to come.
They might be the same too.
They might be the same. Our final question for you: how can our work help your work? all of you in nonprofits, all of you doing direct community service, all you HR people, all you diversity officers, you college professors, okay, and armchair philosophers. How can our work feed your work? We imagine this work as not living only in the theater. I think it's perfectly suited for a theater. I'm just tickle pink, it's in my house. But I could also see it in a boardroom. I could see the Oakland police sitting there learning about sensitivity training. I could see a bunch of inner city teachers sitting there and learning about students that they drive in from someplace else to teach. I could see nonprofits, Eric, I could see us in conversations with developers, Yvette and Eric, where we walk into a room and it's like we're walking into another planet. We are so far apart. What would a tool like this do for us, you know? I think that the applications for this work are absolutely endless. And so now my question to you to answer in the moment or to hold in mind and take with you and to get back to us, how does our work feed your work?
So this connects to a question that I was going to ask, which was on the drill down. I mean, it seems like right now in Oakland there are so many spaces which are contested terrain. And I think of the work that I'm doing around the school system, right? And how bitter often school board meetings are, and how conversations about the long-term plan and all that, are very, very difficult, contested, everybody with their love for their kids having very, very difficult conversations. And so when I think about a series, I almost think about drilling down into education, homelessness, immigration, right? Because this ended up being a very black and white conversation, but in Oakland, there's a whole lot of other conversations. And so really thinking that if you drill down to the next level, and then took it into place, right? So I'm thinking, could we take it to Edinburgh? Could we take it to Oakland High? Could we, and have those type of conversations with students, with the parents, with the, with the teachers. But again, immigration right now with DACA reforms going on, So anyway, that was mine.
No, so our plan for the series is that there's one show in January, and there's 2 or 3 shows in May, and there's more in September. So as all of you see it, and then you tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and for people to come back. And this one was specifically written to try to be a bit more broad, because as you were saying, everything's going on all at once right now, and we're all jumping around from so many issues. There's no way to prioritize and curate in any fairness. So to kind of set the tone, so hopefully January will be an introduction to the form and the way we can be in dialogue together and just own our disagreements without actually taking each other's heads off. So without the pressure of the decision, can we sit with the differences and let them marinate? So, and then if people can come back, and then we can get more specific, or go to this little tangent or this little alley. I mean, I would love to do this within specific communities. I originally imagined doing it in the context of peace building workshops, where people who had chosen to be in the room together, collecting their words and reflecting them back to each other, to themselves in a different form, which makes you hear it differently. So to look at Oakland as a community with a past and a future, and to question, well, who's in the community? We're all in the community? Really? Whoa, like that's kind of mind-blowing in a way that's kind of obvious and yet not. So I personally think that before you can get to those places where you have to make a decision, where all the stakes are high, you need to marinate, become familiar with and marinate with the differences in low-stake situations. And art is a place that can do that. Art is a place where there's no stakes, you can engage with difference and things that can make you uncomfortable, and then try different things out.
And I heard someone said the word curating before. And, you know, every work has to start somewhere. So there's a certain amount of curation that's gone into this. But the invitation is for you to curate the rest of this conversation. If you feed that blog, if you fill out those response cards, every time we sit with an audience, more is gathered. Eventually, this is not a conversation we steer. It's a conversation we package and present for you. You are very much a part of this art, the creation of this art. That website is theonetruthiness.com. If you find yourself there, you can feed this conversation. And the ideal watcher or the ideal patron for this show is the group that's in the room now, coming back in January and then coming back in May. So that group grows, so that we have begun a conversation that we continue to tend. And it's impossible for us to really steer the conversation if we work the art the way it's supposed to, because it comes to us and it's reflected back.
And to say again, if you have people, if you know of people or voices that are what's missing, who's not in the room, who's not in the piece. So if there are voices that you know of that should be included, or if there are people that you think I should talk to, contact me. I will come. And I want to hear the stories and I want to include them. And know, again, what all these different points of view are. On a more abstract level, my discovering painting with wax and the ways I painted before this, I've always been drawn to materials that didn't just do what I told them to do, that spoke back. So even when I painted with oils, my paintings where I did every brushstroke, they were kind of tired and overwrought. But when I let it soak into the canvas and, there was a night I was toning my canvas before bed so I could paint the next day, which just means painting it all one color so that you can do lights and darks in relationship to it. Totally artiness. But I was running out of paint, and so I kept thinning it with turpentine. And I got it. It was totally covered, all evenly burnt umber. It was beautiful. I went to sleep. I woke up, and the turpentine seeped into the canvas, and I woke up with a complete painting. I did nothing. And it was a gift to me, and it's still hanging on my wall. So I'm drawn to things that I can have a conversation with, that give me something to think about and challenge me, and that then make me sharper, more creative, and give me different solutions. So if there are voices or people or opportunities, I can see this going into individual schools or organizations and groups, and we can do workshops. We can do more curated, with enough money. We can do curated content just about the issues within that organization, within that group. So if this could be a tool that could partner with people who are trying to work things out, like what would it be to take the school board people and take factions, or and to do it again out of context as a decision. But what would it look like to take their stories in a more focused way and reflect them?
Good idea.
I see two questions that I'm going to honor. Do we have a comment here?
I was heading in a direction and you spoke to it, which was, what is the role? What is the role of the feedback? And how important is it? And you really both spoke of it and spoke to it.
So I see two more questions, and then I'm really reluctant. I swear I could sit and talk to you guys for 2 hours, but then you would remember that and never come back. So, I have a voice over here I have not heard before. I'd like to hear from you, sir. And then I believe I saw one more hand here, and that is going to be our final comment for the night, okay? Sir?
Yeah, I was, thank you definitely for this. And I think I was struck by the idea, well, this last conversation about how we can help and get the conversation out. And I think I've been in a number of conversations where we talk about city budget, county budget, school district budget, and I feel like oftentimes the idea of art being a budget line item is what's problematic, as opposed to being central of how we talk about many issues. So I think one of the things, and again, this is just an invitation, not knowing how it's all connected, but I know already the city of Oakland, right, is having a number of conversations about cultural master plan. So if we're not even having conversations about that or participating in those conversations, instead asking the city to come here to have those conversations, it's not going to happen. And so part of what we need to do, I think, is change policy so that this is where the central conversations that we need to have happen. So it's not in the boardroom because it's not done in an artistic, humanistic way, right? It's done with Robert's rules. So that's one. The other thing that I guess I would also offer is that I also know this new Department of Transportation in the city of Oakland is talking about plazas, right? And so already there are a number of us at Eastside Arts Alliance, East Oakland Building Healthy Communities, a number of folks working to create an East Oakland Black Culture Zone, working to create cultural plazas. Why aren't we using these spaces to tell these stories? Because that's what we do, right? Folks come together in plazas, but instead of having plazas where they might paint a wall, plant a tree, but no one hangs out, right? So I think an opportunity for something like this that becomes part of policy. So for me, as opposed to let's figure out how to have an art program, right? So just an invitation to be able to say, how are we participating in places where policy is being decided that becomes the way that we have these conversations on a regular rather than having art as a separate budget item.
Sorry, we partly agree. We have a closing comment over here. Who's got, Yvette, you want to take us home?
Oh, well, it really dovetails off of what you said and so really well articulated. And I think one thing that might make that more possible, if at all, might be to have a piece that goes on to the continuing conversation that experiencing this might initiate in a group. So if there was some sort of guided piece or at least beginning of that to help folks continue the conversation within their communities. And some of the kind of principles or thoughts that you've mentioned over, for instance, not needing to come to a decision in the discussion and being free of that, and just kind of thinking about how to take that conversation stimulus forward without it, and giving it support to keep it from derailing into the knee-jerk kind of reflexive difficulties that we often have.
So there are some people. So we're very. So some of the primary areas we want to develop the work going forward is to explore what can be done with those. What feels appropriate and right and juicy and fertile for these post-show conversations, and also a companion workshop. And so there are people in the room, Shane Safier, who wrote The Listening Leader. Did I quite that right? Leader? Yes. Right. So, and John Watkins, who also does work about alternative ways that are not the Robert's Rules of Orders, of ways of communicating and working together. And so I'm looking for people to help. So if I can focus on the painting and be part of a team to help develop that and take that further, please get involved. There's lots of different ways if people want to get involved and take this further as an entity. Love it. Eliaton Calendar, Ross, Scott. What's his name? Also doing work with moving towards workshops, and again, what are using art as a way to get in and help people see and experience things differently that then they can take to those meetings. So help us.
I have a final request. Exit surveys really help and feed us. You'll notice this one didn't ask you things like your gender, how much money you make. It actually asks you to say things, okay? It can be one sentence. I would really appreciate if you would fill this out. This right here, you may fill this out and leave this with us here now. If anyone does not fill this out, but then gets an urge to have it included, okay? There's a mailbox on the front of this building. You can just stick it in. You can put your contact information on it if you wish to be contacted. If you would like to be thoroughly anonymous and tell us how annoying we are, you can do that too. The Truthiness.com, that is the website. There is a blog. Please visit. Talk to us. January 4th, 2018, the first installment of the Truthiness Oakland happens here at the FlightDeck. And we are, look out for the launching of our Kickstarter. We are going to do a Kickstarter to help us shape the series and fund the first couple of ones so that we can get the money we need, because making art is tremendously expensive and it's extra expensive in Oakland right now. And so in order to do the labor of the love, we have to raise the dirty dollars.
And there's exciting rewards, so that you can download a copy of the text. I will be putting together a book that has pictures of the painting and its evolution that align up with the text, and that you could get the whole compendium by the end of the year, the complete box set. You can buy the painting.
Oh, wow.
You can buy a custom workshop or a custom show, or a show just for your particular group. So there's a lot of different levels. You can see the Flickr card that was in your program, OneTruthiness.com.
And there's one really special perk I'd like to call your attention to. You can make a donation and get yourself a ticket. Tickets are one of the perks too. And so you can go and donate to the Kickstarter and end up with tickets. And so we encourage you to purchase tickets, to donate to the Kickstarter, to purchase tickets early, to purchase tickets for other people.
And also Kickstarter, just like actual real world mechanics. As soon as we launch, Kickstarter likes to know who gets a lot of action from a lot of people really quickly. So if you see it and you're interested, you just give, whatever amount you see fit. If maybe later you change and want to give more, that's cool. Jump on it, get your tickets, sign up for January now, and all of that can help get the word out. You're getting the word out for funding, and then there's getting the word out for all of these goals that we're talking about that we want to do and have impact.
Everyone who took a picture tonight, I have a final request for you. When you post it, would you post it please with the hashtag OneTruthiness.com, okay? So that we can begin the community marketing of this cycle, okay? I want to thank you again for coming to our house, for spending this time with us. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you guys.